Hi, my name is Jamie, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I come to celebrate recovery to heal from my hurts and hang-ups. I was a heavy marijuana smoker, then my addiction shifted to alcohol, and I became an alcoholic when I could no longer smoke marijuana. I attend Living Grace, which is a mental health support group here on Tuesday nights. Before I found faith in Jesus, I felt lost and empty in life. Today, I can say I'm grateful to be a child of God and a person of worth. I began using substances first as a way to cope with sexual trauma. I was molested as a young child and then drugged and raped later as a teenager. I worked in EMS as an EMT paramedic where I witnessed a lot of traumatic events that deeply impacted me, which added to the weight of my chronic PTSD. The first time I used cannabis, oh my, I knew it was going to be a problem. I never thought I'd break up with my newfound love for marijuana. While other girls were dating and falling for boys, I was falling in love with getting high. It was truly my first love, and I thought it'd be the only thing that would never hurt me and loved me as much as I loved it. Boy, was I wrong. I thought using substances was a way to find deep peace. However, I came to realize much later on in life that it really caused me more of a disturbance in my undiagnosed mental health illnesses. This also destroyed relationships with people who I loved and cared for deeply by choosing addiction over them. I volunteered and worked as an EMT paramedic. My first call was a man who had overdosed while driving. He was using heroin. The needle was still in his arm when we pulled him out of the canal. We worked and performed a full code of CPR. Sadly, he passed away in our care. I was only 14 years old at the time. To this day, I still remember what his face looked like. And honestly, I remember the face of every single person I've ever seen die. I was working in the medical field, and then I became a teacher, all while using substances to mask with my emotions and struggles of my mental illness that was undiagnosed. I first began noticing mood instability while working 24-hour shifts in EMS. I just thought I had anxiety and depression. I was Baker-acted for the first time at 21 for attempting to take my own life after describing an out-of-body experience of someone telling me to complete these acts. I now know this is called psychosis, which I deal with as part of having a mental health disability. Living with substance abuse and undiagnosed mental illnesses made me feel like a person living a double life. I was always masking and compensating as a high achiever. I graduated high school in the top 10% with my AA degree. I got scholarships, and this was all while I was using substances. I used those scholarships to get my EMT degree, and then I became a paramedic. When I realized I was experiencing the mood instability in EMS, I decided to leave, and I obtained my bachelor's degree in education, and I became a teacher. This was all while I was struggling with addiction and undiagnosed mental illnesses, which I had not accepted nor coped with. Frankly, I was running away from my problems and using substances as a way to cope. My psychiatrist at the time placed me on a stimulant for ADHD, Adderall. That was when my addiction shifted from cannabis to alcohol. At this time, I experienced the worst psychotic episode I had ever experienced in my life. These events led to multiple psychiatric stays. Afterwards, I went to treatment at a dual diagnosis facility. I was diagnosed as having multiple mental illnesses resulting in a disability. These new diagnoses, medications, and being a person in recovery, along with therapy, helped me realize why I was using. It was a way to cope with masking from chronic post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental illnesses I did not confront nor knew I had. I was always shoving my hurt deeper and deeper down until I realized I need help and support. Today, I receive that from my family and loved ones, as well as people from Celebrate Recovery here tonight. Now, I unapologetically live my authentic self. I no longer wear a mask, and I use the power of prayer and strong bonds with people who are in this room right now. When I feel like my life has become too unmanageable, I reach out for support. God has taken all of me, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and has helped me remove my defects of character. One of my coping mechanisms when I would get triggered was to run away, spending all my money and going absolutely broke getting loaded. I thought if I just used to numb my problems, they would go away. Really though? Using caused hardships within my life, going into debt, losing jobs and friends, and tearing apart relationships with people who I loved and cared for deeply. I was basically choosing addiction over them. This is where I need to stay honest, unfortunately. After 7 months of sobriety, I had a relapse. I was falling away from AA. I no longer had a sponsor because she had also relapsed. And I realized I was avoiding Celebrate Recovery small groups. Basically, I was in an emotional relapse, and ultimately, it was on me. I was making other people my higher power. I made the wrong choice, which led me to use. It took me being honest with myself, others, my family, to admit what I had done wrong. I then reached out and started asking for a new sponsor. I am once again doing 90 meetings in 90 days. I attend Celebrate Recovery small groups again, and my new sponsor and I will be revisiting all the steps together. Instead of using drugs and alcohol today, I find myself using some of the tools I've gained from being in recovery. I call my sponsor regularly, and I work the 12-step recovery program. I visit my therapist weekly, while also relying on sober support for accountability. I pray, I meditate, I do things that will keep me from using alcohol, like crocheting or crafting, which I find brings me peace and serenity. I learned from this relapse that I was pushed to get sober, and at the time, I didn't know it, but I had carried that resentment with me. Now, I'm sober for myself because I want to live a sober life. I live today for myself through the principles. If I told you becoming sober was a cakewalk, that would be an absolute lie. However, it's been the best thing I've ever embarked on in my life. I had to go to treatment to receive further help. I didn't just dive into this whole recovery thing. While in treatment, we were taken to attend AA meetings. I remember hearing, "I'm grateful to be sober," and I thought to myself, what did I get myself into? I'm not grateful to be here, so I thought. As I heard and listened to those old timers, I decided to stick and stay. I began to listen to worship music and started talking to others about faith with God. Someone told me that I went to treatment with that it's not Jamie's way, it's God's way, and I can't cheat God. To this day, that statement sticks with me. That statement made me realize I have a purpose. I've always had a purpose. It's to help others. I used to always help others, whether it was being a teacher or working in EMS, but now I help others by working the program. I finally accepted the help I needed. So, once I was released from treatment, my first step was to get that sponsor. I picked up the phone and I would call her anytime I needed to. I began attending 7 a.m. AA meetings here at the church, just in case you didn't know they're here. And I began to come to Celebrate Recovery on Tuesday night, and I began to come to Celebrate Recovery here on Mondays and Living Grace on Tuesday nights. This church, it really has it all to help those who are in need. We are lucky to be here today. I was a believer in God for years before getting off substances, but I didn't think I was a person that belonged in a church nor deserved to be in the seat. Now I attend church every Sunday, and my parents come along and support me as we practice faith together now. Sometimes my dad will stop me when I'm venting about frustrations and ask me, "Did you pray on it?" Working the 12-step program made me realize I had work to do with myself and has helped me view life differently as I began to reflect on my character defects and make amends to those I did harm to in my previous path of destruction. I have been able to repair relationships with some, build healthy habits within myself, and build new relationships with others. I'm grateful to say I have a second home away from home here at Community of Hope. This is the place that I come to multiple times a week, and I'm just so grateful to have that place. I was a person that felt like an outcast most of my life, feeling the need to wear a mask to be liked. The 12-step program helped me view life differently as I began to reflect on my past. My favorite step is step 12. I do this by carrying the message and helping others while providing my own experience. I love coming here to celebrate recovery. I will very rarely pass up an opportunity to help and volunteer. You can see me making a coffee. You can see me holding the doors open or working the front desk and answering your questions. I found that working in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and attending weekly truly makes me feel a part of a family. Volunteering here allows me to put step 12 into practice and allows me to give back to others. Also, it holds me accountable. My favorite tool I received in recovery is to pray and also call my sober support network I now have. At night, I will go through inventory from step 10, and I will go through what I did or didn't do. This step helps me relieve the anxiety I had from the day. I will then do the nightly prayer from step 11 and thank God. It really helps me have a sound sleep. I've heard Pastor Trevor tell us all that we deserve to be here. Today, I'm grateful and proud to say that I am a child of God and I'm a person of worth, and I am in recovery. Without all the support from you guys here today, I wouldn't be able to share my message, and I wouldn't be able to stay in recovery, because being in recovery isn't a me thing, it's a we thing. We are all here recovering together, whether it's being a codependent, having tech addictions, or learning to cope with anger. Or you're like me, and you're struggling with addiction, and we're coping from that too. We all deserve a seat in this chair. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my testimony this evening and showing up every Monday night so we can recover from our hurts and hang-ups together. Thank you.